It's been about 2 months since implants were released, and there's still a lot of confusion around what they are and which ones are best and what's going on. So I thought I would take a little bit of time here on Friday night and just go through each and every single one of them, give you guys my thoughts, and rank them based off of which ones I think you gotta have, which ones are kind of nice to have, which ones you'll fly if you've got them, and which ones are not worth your time. So with that being said, grab a drink. Let's settle in for a little Friday night entertainment here. Here we go. All right, so what I've got here is a slide with kind of the 4 categories I just mentioned. Which ones are going to be really nice to have, which ones are going to be not worth your time, so on and so forth, all of that stuff. We're just going to start going through these. I have not prepared for this as much as I probably should have, so this should be a little interesting, but here we go. Now, these are in no particular order, so just take it for what you will. But we're going to start at the top of my little impromptu list here, and we're going to go with Pulse Crystal. Now, Pulse Crystal is a laser implant. It is one that is pretty powerful when it comes to the PvP side of things. Basically makes you use a lot more capacitor than you normally would when firing lasers, but it does give you a damage bump. Now, I do like this one. I think it is going to go into the nice to have category because if I'm being honest, it's just a nice, like kind of well-rounded PvP type of thing. I would put it in the gotta have it if it was not or if it was in the kind of free to get category. Because you can't get this one off of DR, at least not one of the guaranteed runs, I'm going to just leave it on the second tier, but it is really powerful, especially with the meta, and we'll talk about that in just a minute when we talk about the other implant that is all about lasers and that is the meta right now. Now, let's talk about the next one here, which is automatic defense. And this is probably one of my favorite implants because I do love flying the RB. The specifics on this one are basically that when your drones hit, they have a chance to make the target unlock you. And that's really, really powerful. As you get this one leveled up, it does have the ability to do some other really cool things like have scram on an enemy or just some other different things like that. The biggest drawback here is that it's not one of the ones that's in DR. So you can't get this one just by running the Dormant Realms. You do have to pay for it, whether that's on the open market or if you're going to actually swipe for this one. I would actually put this one probably as a nice to have, again, if you're able to get it. I'm like almost wanting to put this one here in the middle. It's such a good implant. It's so just... Oh, I do love this one, but I am going to just leave it in the nice to have for now, just because, again, it's a great implant for solo hunters. The other really nice thing about this implant is that if you do only have this one and you have a bunch of other ships that are not drone ships, you can still equip this one, put it on, and use it kind of as a last line of defense. If you get tackled by a scepter or something like that, in theory, you might be able to unlock that scepter and still warp off. Next up, we've got the remote armor implant. This one is great if you are an armor logi. My biggest problem with it is that not many people run armor, especially just given the shield meta and everything like that. It's not to say, don't flame me in the comments. I know that some people do run armor. It's still great. I have several ships that I enjoy running armor on. But in bigger fleets, and typically in fleets where you're going to have logi, it's just not quite as well used or well diversified. I'm not sure what the right word is. Again, I blame but I just don't think there's as much utility for this one. I'm going to put it in the might as well use it. If you're, again, happening to use it, I would almost, again, just where armor is right now, I might almost put it in the not worth your time. I just would hate for somebody to get this one and spend money to get it or anything like that. You've got to be a very specific use case to want this particular one just because of, again, where armor is. Now, the one caveat here is that if you are running a fax that is going to be an armor fax, this is obviously a very good one to have. Because it gives you the armor resistance boost, if you're running with a capital fleet or anything like that, it would be fantastic to have, but again, I think that's a very specific use case and it's a very narrow set of pilots right now. All right, next up, we've got the Focus Crystal. And Focus Crystal is, I mean, I'm not even going to bother trying to sugarcoat this. It's in the gotta have it. The meta right now is lasers, Oracle 2s, other, APOC strikers, whatever. I mean, lasers with this implant are just deadly. What it does is every time you hit, it basically adds on to kind of a stack. You get more of a bonus to your damage based off of how many of those stacks you have. If you miss, it drops down. Now, the reason this is so powerful right now is because when we do look at the cap hunting meta, if you would, it's fast ships, it's large ships like battle cruisers and battleships that are able to get in quickly and hit big targets that really aren't moving that much. So you're getting a lot of those stacks very quickly, and you're able to just apply that damage. Even if you are able to upgrade this even to level 10 or 15, this thing is just absolutely deadly. And the fact that it comes in the DR, I think it's the Law of the Deep, maybe. It's one of the cap dormant realms. Either way, you can get this one just by doing in-game stuff. You don't have to use real-world money. For that reason, I mean, everything just kind of points to this one as being an absolute game changer and probably one of the most powerful implants in the game right now. Barrage repression. So this one is the cannon, the first cannon one that we're talking about today. This one in particular, again, is great if you are looking to really up your damage very quickly. It basically, again, loads in, kind of similar to Focus Crystal, it loads in rapid firing ammo that allows you to fire your guns more quickly. The downside is that it only has, I think, 6 shots max until you get it really upgraded. And so while you are able to reduce that cooldown and fire the guns more quickly, it is much more limited than the Focus Crystal. However, it is also one that you are able to get, and this is actually one that you were able to get with a sub cap. You don't have to be running the cap. I think it's the... now I'm just really blanking on this. I think it's Law of the Deep. But either way, you are able to get that one. I'm going to go ahead and put this one in the gotta have it as well. Cannons are such a versatile weapon platform. I really love playing with these and flying cannon ships. So I think that it's a great one to have in your back pocket if you need it. I don't think that you need to necessarily upgrade it if you don't want to. But even just to have it for that first initial, there's really not a whole lot of downsides. So I would put this one in definitely the gotta have it category. Warhead Charge. So this was the first implant that I ever got. It's a great implant for very use case, very specific items. This is the first one that you're likely to get, especially if you're looking at the Tidal Lock Dormant Realm. The nice thing on this one is that it allows you to either extend your range or reduce your explosion radius so that you can hit ships more easily. So the big drawback on this one is that even though you are getting a great benefit in being able to extend the range of your missiles or reduce the explosion radius, you are seeing, I think it's a 25%. No, I'm sorry, they patched that. It's a 20% total damage reduction, which while great, until you really get it upgraded, I don't think it outweighs the penalty that you're getting with that damage reduction. So it's got to be really a very specific use case that you're looking for here. Maybe you're trying to snipe with a Raven on a faction rally. Maybe you are, in a bellicose and you're just trying to pick off maybe some of the ships that are kiting you or something like that. I don't know, but either way, this is just it's just such a niche type of implant. I probably am going to just put it in the might as well use it if you've got it. But I wouldn't go out of your way. Like, I wouldn't design a strategy around using this implant. Bombard Tactics. Okay, so this was probably the one that I was the most hyped about when it first was announced. The idea is that you can load in your drones. They basically carry a bomb and they go in and they blow stuff up and they've got more damage and blah, blah, blah. The problem is that usually with a drone ship, you're fighting at such range that you either are having to lose DPS as you're sending drones out and then having them hit and then come back and reloading. And, again, with fighters in particular, if you're using a carrier, you're probably talking about several hundred kilometers. It's even worse. Or you're having to use smaller drones or losing damage mods to use speed mods with drones. It just doesn't work quite as well. So on this one, I'm going to say it's it's kind of a might as well use it. And it kills me to say that because I was so excited as a drone pilot to see this one, but it just doesn't work quite the way that I was hoping. I don't know what I was hoping for, but this just wasn't it. I don't know. Either way, I love the idea if you've got it. You know, if you're maybe in a Vexor 2 and you're doing a torpedo fit, this could be a great implant to have. But given the fact that it's not in the dormant realms right now for us to be able to run through and get for free, I just don't. I wouldn't spend money to get it. If you've got it, great, but I wouldn't really go out of my way to try to find it or get it. So high power coil. This one is a little bit confusing. Basically, as you shoot, you get power. When you get enough power, you can activate the implant to give you a boost to your damage. It's great. It's a nice little extra, I guess, if you will, but I don't know that it really makes that much of a difference. And I feel like you have to upgrade it so much in order to be able to actually make it effective. But it is free, I guess. So I'm going to put it as a nice to have, especially if you're flying like a Daredevil or something like that. I don't know that you'd be able to build up enough to be able to actually, you know, use it if like you were using like snub nose rails or something like that. I feel like you'd probably be killing something pretty quickly. Maybe more on like a battleship if you're, you know, using a Vindicator or, you know, like a Megathon Striker or something like that. If you're doing that, then maybe it's going to give you a little bit more of a buff, but I don't fly those ships. So for me, I don't think that I would really care about this one as much. I'd probably put this one in the, you know, like I said, the nice to have. If I had it, it'd be great, but I'm probably not going to go out of my way to find it. Thermal circulation. This one is also a railgun implant, and it's kind of similar to the focus crystal in that as you shoot, in this case they call them heat, and as you get more heat, you basically are able to do more damage once you hit a certain threshold. Now, the problem with this one is that you have a very limited window. If you're looking at where your shots are going or how you're activating your guns, basically every time you shoot, you get 6 points of heat. As your heat builds, you do more damage. If you are between 70 and 100, when you hit 100, your gun time basically overheats and it's not that you can't shoot. It just increases your activation time. Basically, it makes it 4 times longer between shots. So if you had, for example, a gun that was shooting 2.5 seconds, it would now be shooting every 10 seconds until that heat goes down and you're able to cool your guns, whatever. Again, this one's nice. I would probably, again, put it in the nice to have. I know that for both of the railguns, that's, you know, seems a little bit weird, but you know what? I think it's fair because they're good. They're not great. You know, if maybe the limit was a little bit higher. The problem with this one is just that you only have 5 shots and then you're hitting that ridiculous cooldown penalty. So I just don't know that I could really put it in the gotta have it. I'd say nice to have at this point, but you know, whatever. All right. So remote shield is our third to last one here. Basically, as you lose as the shield is lost from your target, you are able to give them additional shield based off of how much they've lost. So if they've lost more, you're getting a bonus there, so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. I love this. I'm going to put this one in the gotta have it, especially if you are a Logi pilot. Really, I guess only if you're a Logi pilot, but whatever. Either way, this is fantastic. With the shield meta, how everything is running, I love this one. I am so glad that as a Logi pilot, I can get this much of a benefit. I am actually working my way towards trying to get this one, so I'm hoping that I can get it soon. It's a fantastic one. I love it. I think it's great. Yeah, I don't have much more to say about that one. Cheers. Sniping technology. This is the one that I am probably the most disappointed in just because it makes no sense to me. As a cannon pilot, I love the Tornado 2. I think it's great to put a large MWD and strike cannons on, and I was kind of looking forward to this one. Unfortunately, the way that it's set up is for every 5 seconds that you don't fire, you get extra tracking speed. Well, I'm not really concerned with tracking speed because if I'm doing this right, or if I'm playing the way I like to play, people are coming straight at me, or they already have limited tracking speed because they can't catch me. And so It feels kind of like a waste. I'm going to put this one in the not worth your time. It just is really upsetting that it's not a damage bonus. If it was a damage bonus, I'd be willing to hold back because the whole point is alpha and being able to just blast something off the grid. But that's not what this is. It's all about tracking speed. So yeah, I'm gonna leave this one at not worth your time. So support projection. This one makes me laugh a little bit because if you look, it's basically, of course I don't have this stacked right. If you look, it's the exact same icon as Warhead Charge. And the funny thing is that this one is, in my opinion, so much better than Warhead Charge. Not because of the initial bonus that you get, but rather because of the benefits that you get once you hit level 10. On the Warhead Charge, you're able to change the actual type of damage, so between EM, thermal, kinetic, explosive, whatever it is, you're able to change that with the actual warhead once you get this thing upgraded. On support projection, the changes are actually more about draining the capacitor, hitting the movement speed, things like that. And to me, that is so much more useful. It makes such a better, I don't want to say better experience. It's a better use case. There's a lot more benefit in doing that. I can just see, again, a Phoenix pilot or somebody like that using this with the cap draining missiles and just absolutely taking down some other caps, especially if we start talking about faxes and things like that. So I'm going to put this one in the nice to have. I think it's a great option. It does require that you upgrade it to really get the full benefit out of it, which is why I'm not going to put it in the gotta have it. It also is not one that you can get in Dormant Realm. So unfortunately, we're not going to quite go all the way, but I think it's a great one. I think if that you could get it or you have it in, again, a random box or something like that, if you fly any kind of missiles or particularly if you are a cap missile pilot, this one in particular could be really, really, really beneficial. Well, guys, that's it. That's my listing here. Like I said, I think that the Gotta Have It, Barrage Repression, Remote Shield are probably the three best implants at the moment. And then you can see here the rest of them. I really love some of these other implants. I really hate some of these implants. I am still pissed off about the sniping technology, but that's just me. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below if you agree with this ranking, if there are some of you think I'm just wildly off the mark, or if there are ones that I am overvaluing. Either way, thanks so much for joining. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, remember, kill marks last forever and fly safe. Have a good one, y'all.